Just
Pollution is a problem. Unstable houses in disaster zones is a problem. Toxic wall paints is a problem. You may be asking how they're all related, but I assure you they are. We combine the individual solutions to these problems to make the ultimate eco-sustainable home. That's what we do here at Akemi Bricks and Paints, turning your problems into solutions since 2021. Next slide, please.
So the problems we are mainly looking at are the increasing levels of air pollution, which lead to health hazards, inequality in terms of women employment, and buildings with weaker foundations in areas of disaster-prone zones. We are hoping to overcome these issues through our product, Akemi Bricks and Paints. Our paints are eco-friendly, odorless, and fume-free. This decreases the risk of respiratory issues such as asthma, and the fume-free paints decreases the risk of triggering allergies. Stronger foundation for buildings, because the grass and clay which we use for our bricks adds on to the strength, which is especially useful in areas at risk of natural disasters. We promote women employment as we'd be hiring women, mainly women, for the production of our bricks and paints, which also decreases inequality. Next slide, please.
So how are products different from others? Our products are basically divided into 4 parts of the USP, which firstly is long-lasting bricks, which are mixed with glass and clay to provide a support to your homes. Second of all, eco-friendly, which bricks are made from a mixture of smog and clay to reduce air pollutants. These paints are mixed with diatoms, which give it the ability to break down the harmful airborne, pollutants in the air. Thirdly, they provide health benefits. These paints can transform your homes into an anti-mold and bacteria, no pollution zone. They work as a powerful deodorant and have a higher cleansing power than charcoal. They prevent allergy, asthma, and rhinitis. They provide sound and heat insulation and other retardant and anti-smoke as well. Lastly, we have DIY for creativity. The walls of your homes or offices will be painted as per the customer's palette. These paints could change colors according to your temperature of your surroundings and would take away the boring factor of staring at the same walls 24/7.
We at Akemi plan to sell our bricks through an online as well as an offline method. Online through our website and offline through the small retail companies, the big retailers, and the construction companies. We plan to put up billboards on the side of main roads, in shopping complexes, in restaurant complexes, and as well we put newspaper ads in big and local newspapers. We also plan to do social media influencing by putting up advertisements on main social media platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We also plan to seek help from celebrities like Gautam Gambhir, who have taken an initiative to move towards a pollution-free environment. All videos about how we produce our bricks and paints will be posted on our YouTube channel as well as on our personal blog. Also, the best DIY ideas created by our customers would be showcased on the YouTube and the personal blog channel. Next slide, please.
Our cost structure shows us where your money is being put to good use. It can be divided into fixed and variable costs. The fixed costs include vacuum machinery, smog machines, factory rent, and electricity, whereas the variable costs include employees and labor, advertisements, with bonus amount to distributors. Going further, one smog hand vacuum costs about 40,000 rupees, and each pollution tower machine is 7 lakhs. We intend to erect 2 around cities. The making of each brick costs 5 rupees, while being sold for 8. Our paint cans sell for 900 rupees. Next slide, please.
The SDGs that Akemi is using are SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, SDG 9, which is infrastructure, innovation, and industry, SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production.
Akemi bricks are basically dividing into this is our main canvas, and our key metrics are basically sales, number of products produced, number of women employed, and even the number of buildings built from the usage of Akemi bricks. Our customer segments are basically the people who are living in disaster-prone zones, people who would require long-lasting, stronger brick houses, the construction companies, the hardware businesses, and we're also focusing on urban homes.
The basic revenue streams for Akemi paints and bricks is the retailers, the construction companies, and the hardware businesses. First whitewash from Akemi will be free, and the next whitewashers will be charged as per the work that we are doing. At Akemi, we are asking for 1 crore rupees as a loan for 20% of the company, and till the money has been returned at an interest of 10%. Thank you.
Now, these are some frequently asked questions. What is the social impact? What do our advertisements cost? How do our paints purify the air? How do our paints change color based on their temperature? And how are we tapping into our primary SDGs? Thank you.
So shall we open the floor for the judges?
Yes.
To ask questions? All right.
Sure.
All right, judges, take away. Who wants to start first?
So I'd love to understand the science behind the color changing of the bricks.
So basically, our paints use leuco-dye technology. So after absorbing a certain amount of heat or light, the molecular structure changes and it's not toxic. So it's also eco-friendly. So it's basically the leuco-dye technology which helps in changing the color based on temperature as it absorbs light or heat.
Okay. I also have a question. You mentioned that you're going to track. I love how in your indicators, you've got financial, but you've also got more impact related indicators. I think that's really important. But I was wondering, you mentioned you're tracking the number of buildings. Now, it can take quite a lot of time.
Thank you so much, Tim.
I think let's I'm sorry, I'm coming in.
Akemi bricks and paints.
Vivian, let's do one thing. Let's follow that order. Anna goes first, then Sukendra. Lina is already come in, and after Anna, you can come in, Vivian. Anna was speaking. Let me moderate this. Anna, please go ahead.
No problem. Basically, my question was, you mentioned that you're going to track the number of buildings that you're going to build. Now, obviously, if you're going to market, you probably want to have proof of your impact as early as possible. So I'm just wondering, why did you choose number of buildings, which could take you quite a lot of time to measure, because you're going to have to wait for people not to just build a wall, but a whole building, and that could take years, versus another aspect, which is maybe smaller and easier to measure. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So I believe we have multiple key metrics. We're also looking at the number of products sold, which are number of each brick sold. We're focusing on all three types of key metrics, small, medium, and large. And number of women employed will be like kind of a medium kind of a key metric. I believe we're working that way.
By medium and large, you mean medium and large timescales?
Yeah.
Sort of. Okay,
Yeah.
cool, got it. Okay. And my second question is, at some point you mentioned smog hand vacuums and towers. It wasn't quite clear to me how those fit in and why you chose to compare those to your prices. Are those something you're selling, or were you using them as a comparison?
Yes, I can answer that. So our bricks are made from pollution, right? So the hand vacuums and towers are used to collect the particles from the air, the pollution particles from the air, and then those particles are combined with the clay to make the brick. So the hand vacuum, it allows for like a mobile force on the ground, whereas the towers, they can clean up to 80% of the environment they're in. So we plan to erect 2 of them in polluted cities so that they can clean the air around them, take the particles, and help us make our bricks.
All for me, thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Vivian, do you want to come in with your question?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, guys. I actually admired the outlook of your presentation, your pitch deck. So it's really nice. And the idea, Akemi bricks and paints. So I would like to understand, you made mention of SDG Goal 3, which is good health and well-being. How does the SDG Goal 3 relate to your business idea, which is production of bricks and paints?
So our paints have health benefits because these are natural and not synthetic paints. So they have health benefits like reduced respiratory problems. They help prevent allergies. And just generally, they're better than the toxic synthetic paints that most traditional homes use.
Our paint, sorry, our paints are also made of, they basically cleanse your homes from inside. The air pollutants, particles which they combine of diatoms, they break down your pollutant molecules and they allow for fresh and cleaner air inside your homes. So that's how we're tapping into the third goal.
Vivian, does that answer your question?
All right, yes. So if I understand that you made mention of eliminating toxins from the environment, is that correct?
Yes, we use diatoms to break down the air pollution molecules.
All right, Vivian, do you have more questions? Should I? Yeah, we can hear you. Do you want me to move on to Sukendra, or do you have some more questions?
One more question.
Sure, please go ahead.
I also like to understand how you intend to make your idea sustainable. Do you think that your cost structure, you can generate a really good number of ROI, which is revenue, from your production within the next 3 years? Should I repeat that?
No, Vivian, I got your question. I think the team is figuring out who's answering. Guys, what will help is if you stop sharing your screen so that we can at least see who is about to speak. It'll help.
I couldn't understand the question. Could you please repeat it?
Yeah. Vivian, we need you to repeat the question.
Okay, did you get my question?
No, Vedant would like to better understand your question, please.
Cost structure, you made mention about the fixed and the variable structures, right?
Yes.
And here, because what keeps and sustains a business is profit, right? Good. So where do you intend to generate your profit?
Vivian, there is a bit of a lag in your voice. I'm going to kind of repeat your question and see if I'm asking your question correctly or not. So guys, the question was your
business.
Yeah.
How do you enable it's going to last longer? How do you generate profit from your business?
Yes, I believe we already have profit margin. Our production costs are at 5 rupees and our selling price is at 8. So we have those 3 rupees margin of our revenue streams. And furthermore, we have a very unique advertising strategy, and we're going to use Gautam Gambhir, who's a very well-renowned cricketer in his field. So we'll be using him to advertise our product, as he's already been part of this whole smog machine into pollution to bricks concept before. He's already been part of this campaign before. So you'll be using him to market our product. We also have a very unique strategy for as like DIY paints, so which will attract the younger generation more, especially right now. As you can have your color changing as the temperature change outside, the paints of your walls will also change. So this unique, we're trying to bring upon this as well.
Also, we're providing whitewash services. The first whitewash will be free, but the rest would be charged on the basis of the work we're going to be doing for them.
All right.
Great. Thanks for those answers, although there was some lag.
Great.
But I hope you've kind of
thank you.
Yeah. Passing over to Sukendra, please.
No, great ideas, guys. Great idea and great presentation. Just a couple of questions. One, what I really found innovative here is the channel acquisition, that you're using social media influencers, you're using DIY. Two, I believe, two channels which are very innovative to say the least. And it seems like you already picked an influencer who has been into this in the past. So it's kind of half work done. Though, if you're going DIY, right, and given the product and given how conscious the newer generations are, I do believe that that's a great way of tapping into the B2C market, which is people just buying your paints to paint their walls. Though in the whole problem solution bridging and in the revenue streams, it seems like most of your conversations went B2B because it's in the construction industry, right? So what's your take here? I mean, there can be B2B, which is collaborate with construction companies, in which case you probably can't talk much of impact, but can tell them how much of a profit margin is getting better. So that will be the idea in a B2B space, right? But if you're going to go B2C or B2G, then I get it. If you want to convince your customers that your product is very good for the environment, the newer generation might actually care about that, and vice versa with government, right? Like government also has sustainable development goals and so on. So that's a huge market, B2G. So do you have a clarity on it? Do you wish to go B2B or do you wish to go B2C or B2G? What's your thought process? It seems like your ideas were one type and your acquisition was completely different. So I want to have a bit of clarity there.
So what we are thinking is that we are going to be partnering up, as well as we are going to be selling directly to the customers through small retailers, through big retailers of bricks, and through small and big retailers of paints. We are also going to be targeting the sustainable construction companies, which are building eco-friendly offices, eco-friendly houses, so that we not only market with people who are building normal traditional houses, but also with people who are moving towards sustainability, as well as selling our bricks on the side directly to the customers.
That's a good point. So if you know that there is a market, which is a construction market, which are specifically using sustainable products to construct, do you have any, and if it's okay if it's not, but do you have any idea of the available market, the TAM, the total available market? What companies do that approximately? What kind of business do they do?
I'm not very sure about the companies, but I know one thing, that in India and in some states like Bangalore, there are smart offices, some offices which are built without any air conditioning. They are built in ways which are sustainable. So we could use our bricks to build smart offices so that become more sustainable, and like they help the environment and the people around them.
Furthermore, even the areas in which people live in disaster-prone zones, that would require long-lasting house foundation as well, because our bricks are strong, right? They're made from clay and grass.
Okay, just one last thing. I wouldn't want to take a lot of your time. It's a suggestion more than a question. I think again, since the impact part is very obvious, a lot of ideas do not have very obvious impact as to what you're trying to achieve here. But I think in your product or the solution, it's quite clear. Although you're kind of trying to bridge women empowerment into it, and those are, let's say, byproducts of what you're actually achieving. The core goal here is reducing the pollution, building sustainable houses. So the impact is very, very clear. But again, like given that it is the core is the impact that you're trying to sell here, any calculation, right? Or not in just in terms of how many bricks have you sold, but any calculation of what it means in terms of carbon footprint. Right? What does it mean if you sell one brick, or if you sell 1 million bricks? What have you actually changed in the world? Any indication, keeping that metric both for yourself and by showing it to the customers, I think will be a great way forward in convincing people that what you're building indeed means something.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
So thank you, team, for pulling it off and braving the question answers. Judges and Ishnur, may I make a suggestion, and the teams as well? Let's keep this interaction for question answers. Then should we move to the other team? And once we complete all the teams, then the judges can give their feedback or suggestions basis whatever they heard? Is that okay? Or do you want to kind of give the suggestions to this team and get done with it? I think I'd like to switch to the other teams, have the question answer so that you understand the product, you understand the plan, and then we can come back with your feedback, so to say. Should we do that? Judges have the
personally, what I would prefer is have that end-to-end conversation, right? Like I don't want it to break between. Personally, that is something I prefer. But at the end of the day, like this is not a judgment. This is just advice. And maybe after we're done with all three participants as well, what we would also like to probably engage in a if we have additional thoughts in general about the presentation and so on, that might be a good way.
Sure. Ishnu.
Ma'am, it might just be too inefficient to keep transitioning again like twice to throw all the judges. So we can just keep the same pattern and try to keep it a bit more concise.
Sure.
All right.
In that case, I have some. Sorry. In that case, I have some feedback because I didn't give my feedback. So very quickly, I loved the fact that you started your presentation by explaining that the problems are linked. I think that's really important because when I read your canvas, I thought, ooh, lots of different problems here. How are they linked? I do think you could have explained it a little bit better, maybe with a diagram to show very clearly, you know, the paint is produced and it creates pollution. Then you get pollution at an indoor level. Then you get pollution at an outdoor level, and sort of in the mind of the viewer, just separated the different parts of the problem so it's very clear. I loved the fact that I love your product. I've actually recently spent £100. I don't know how much that is in rupees, but that's a lot, on toxic-free paints to paint my nursery because I'm pregnant. And I'm worried about the toxicity of the paint. So there's definitely a market out there for you. I wasn't sure about your statements around the disaster risk. And I think my warning there would be when you're making claims about things being better, be very careful about what you claim, because especially when you're getting into technical areas like disaster prone, you would really want to say, okay, what type of disaster are you talking about? Is it an earthquake? Is it a flood? Is it a power cut? And you sort of ideally, if you take this seriously, you would want to really check the technicalities of things, because when you're talking about foundations, there's a whole process to design foundations, and there's different ways of measuring strength. So it could be that your product is perfect for foundations. It could be that it's not. So beware of what information you include in terms of your claims. The other point, which I suppose builds on Sukendra's point around your target market, your customer segments, I felt like there was a little bit of a discrepancy between your problem and your solution and who you chose to sell to. I didn't quite see that connection. And so what I would recommend is have a think about, of the many people that you could sell to, construction companies, mother-to-be, people that like sustainable design, what is their experience and perception of the problem, and how affected are they by it? So what indicators do you have that construction companies will care more about pollution than a mother? Because that'll help you hone in on at least who you want to go for first. And my recommendation would definitely be, you don't want to target too many segments at the same time, because that's duplicating your outreach, your Instagram, your revenue, like everything. So I would start small and I would pick your first sort of easy win, target segment market, do that first, see how that goes, maybe test the A to B with another segment, and then move on or iterate. But overall, I loved it. And I love the fact that, like I said before, that in your indicators, you have elements of social return on investment. That's a whole science in itself. So you could blow that up. But like I said in the comments, make sure that that's feasible to actually measure, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to set yourself up for failure by coming up with these really complicated measuring schemes and then realize that actually you haven't allowed for the cost and the time and the resources to measure it. So that was just my feedback. Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.